Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. Tonight's encounter takes us from the remote wilderness of Alaska to the Mescalero Apache Reservation in New Mexico. This story spans decades and generations. Our guest Kathleen grew up hearing stories of the hairy man long before she ever questioned whether the legends could be real or not. In the mid 1990s, strange howls and screams echoed through the Alaskan wilderness so loudly they could be heard from inside the house. Years later in New Mexico, her family began experiencing something even stranger. Massive figures seen near the road, foul odors outside the house, fresh tree breaks, unexplained screams, tracks in fresh snow, and encounters that left entire families sleeping together in fear. This is a story of family memories, fear, mystery, and experiences that stretched across 2 states and multiple generations. If you enjoy listening to Sasquatch Theory, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to share your own personal Bigfoot and cryptid encounters here on Sasquatch Theory. With all that being said, let's dive straight into Kathleen's Bigfoot encounters from the state of Alaska and the reservation in New Mexico. All right, Kat, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. Kat, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and all your experiences that you've encountered throughout your life.
Hi, my name is Kathleen. I was born here in New Mexico, but I was raised in Alaska, Northwest Arctic region. But I've been living here in New Mexico since 2012.
Wow. Yeah, that's truly amazing. When did you have your first experience and what happened?
I've been experiencing, the first time I had an experience, I actually heard it vocalizing. I remember growing up, we would go to school up in Alaska, and we would come down during the summertime to visit family. It was during the summer months that we were here. And I don't remember the exact date, but I remember it was in the mid-90s. And I was just a little girl then. And I remember I would be waking up to it howl. I would hear it cry, screaming, hollering, and it was terrifying. I remember I would run to my mom, and even though we cover our ears, we could hear it over covering our ears, and we'd be crying for it to stop. It seemed like it would be going on for like 30 minutes maybe, but it felt like so long.
That's scary. So you were covering your ears inside the house and you could still hear the creature screaming
Yes.
and howling.
It sounds like it was in the field across our house, either in that field or it was up on the hill. That field used to be really bushy, like back then.
Yeah. What do you think they were communicating?
I don't remember. I was too small. I remember I was really small.
Mm-hmm. Did it sound like they were angry?
Yes, sometimes it sounded like it would be angry.
Wow. And what did your people tell you about the hairy man when you lived there? Were they good? Were they bad? And what were the local legends?
I just remember my grandma would always tell us not to be going out at night and not to bother it, just to leave it alone.
Yeah. So
And as long as if you don't bother it, it won't bother you.
they were all well aware of the hairy man in Alaska.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And what did they call it? What names did they give the hairy man there?
I don't know about New Mexico, but my dad was telling me the word for it. It's just Nuyak Binyak. It's just having long hair, like all over.
Yeah. Well, that's truly frightening. What else unfolded after your experience in Alaska when you were a little girl?
Oh, actually, these experiences are on the reservation. Um, I remember one year when we were here on the reservation, my aunts, two of my aunties and my uncle went to the casino, and my parents were in the back room along with my grandma. They already went to bed. My older siblings were babysitting us along with my cousins' other kids. And I remember I was talking about Disneyland with my cousins and my little sister. And my aunt busted through the front door and she was just frantic. She was really like telling us to put on our shoes. And she said my dad was asking her what's going on. And she was saying that she's seen it. They seen it laying by the road, like not too far from our house. And it had its knees up. It was bent and it was just laying by the road, just down the road from our house. And so I remember they took my grandma next door to my uncle's house. And that time we went to my cousin's house and we spent the night there because the doors back then on my grandma's the doorknobs, they weren't really that good. And so they didn't want us to be sleeping there after seeing that creature.
Yeah. So she was afraid it would try to come into the house or terrorize you
Yeah.
guys in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder why it was laying down.
I don't know. But I just remember hearing her talking about it, and it took a while for her to calm down and tell my dad.
Yeah. Did she say if it was massive or was it more of a juvenile?
She said it was huge. Its arms were really long, the legs were really long, and it was like laying in a ditch, like almost a ditch, like by the road.
Wow.
Just right by the road. I don't know why.
I wonder if it was waiting for animals to cross the road, like maybe it was hunting.
Yeah, there's a lot of elk that cross right there too.
Wow. Yeah, it was like in an ambush position. I'm only theorizing, of course, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to find a logical answer as to why a Sasquatch would be laying on the road. And also, you guys travel that road, so that's scary because if you leave the house, you never know if this thing is going to jump out.
Mhm. I think about that all the time.
Yeah, when you pass that spot, you're like, I wonder if it's there.
Yeah. I remember there was another time my cousin came to visit and she brought some board games and she was on her way home. She decided to go home and it got dark already. And it didn't even take 5 minutes. She came back knocking on the door, pounding on it actually, saying she's seen something run across the road in front of her, right where my aunt seen it laying down previously. And she said it just ran across the road and she heard it like rushing through the brush, like towards the creek in front of her. She turned around really fast and she went straight to our house. And I think we had to follow her home after that.
Wow. Yeah, so they're definitely living close to the house and possibly hunting local wildlife in the area.
Hmm.
And what were your thoughts and feelings in these moments when your aunt came home, told everyone to put on their shoes, and when your cousin was pounding on the door, what did you feel in that moment or in those moments?
I just remember being scared. I knew immediately what they were talking about. I just remember feeling scared. Just that same, I still get that same feeling to this day. It's the fear.
Yeah. And what's the name of the reservation? You don't have to say it on the podcast if you don't want to. I'm just curious.
Mescalero.
Okay.
Mescalero Apache.
All right. And what else happened after that experience with your cousin pounding on the door saying she heard and saw a creature cross the road?
There was another time where my sister, one of my older sisters, were in the living room watching TV. And back then we didn't have curtains. We just had sheer curtains on the windows. And it was hot that night, so she opened one of the windows and she was sitting near the window watching TV. And she heard something by the window and she looked and something was standing there looking at her. And she said it stunk. So she ran back to the back. And she was like, Mom, Dad, something stinks outside. Something's outside. Something's by the window looking at me. And so my oldest sister, she wasn't scared. She ran to the living room window and she shut it. And the next day my dad went outside to go check around the house, and they said he seen the flower bed. It was flat, right where she was uh, sitting by the window. All the flowers right there were flat.
Wow. Yeah. So there was definitely something big there. And it makes me wonder, how often are these creatures looking through people's windows? Because that's a pretty common report. And it just makes me wonder how many people have had this experience but never knew that something was actually standing there. It's a pretty eerie feeling if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else happened after that?
I remember one year, I remember the year of this one, it was 98. Um, that was the year my brother accidentally took off his driver's side mirror. Like he accidentally hit a pole and it just fell off. And I remember we were going to the store one night, and either way, we have to go. If we want to go to Walmart, we have to drive about 20, 30 minutes. So by the time we got out of the store, it was already dark. And we were driving through a place called Dark Canyon. It's really dark. And we're on the lane nearest the median. And I remember there was a semi truck coming. That was the only light we could see. And there was a semi truck coming. And just when it was passing, we seen something standing on the median. And it was so close to the truck that all we seen was hair hit the windshield. And it was so close to the truck that it made it swerve a little. And at first my mom thought it was a trash bag, but as years passed, I realized that it was hair. It was long hair, and it reached to the middle of the windshield. That's how long the hair was. And my brother was like, "Did you see that?" And he wanted to turn around. My mom was like, "No, just keep going. Go home."
Wow. Why do you think the creature was just standing there?
I think it was trying to cross because there's a canyon just right there. There's mountains either side of that canyon. I don't know why it was crossing, but yeah, it looked like it was trying to cross.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen like other animals in the past cross there, as far as like elk, mule deer, things like that?
Just elk and deer,
Mm-hmm. So
mainly.
It's like a natural crossing. Maybe it was hunting.
Yeah, maybe.
Hmm. I've noticed the Sasquatch that I encountered, they were on the game trails. So I don't know if they're hunting or if all the animals use specific trails.
Hmm. That was another story about talking about trails. During the same year that we started hearing it around the house in the 90s, um, we'd start hearing it whoop from the hill up above our house. And my dad and my uncle decided to hike the trail, the elk trail. It's across from the Baptist church. We live just right down the road from a Baptist church. And so they decided to hike the trail, and as they were going up, they started seeing freshly broken tree limbs, and it was it was it was placed across, like across the path, and they grabbed it, and the bottom, it just looked like it was fresh, and it looked like toothpicks, and they were looking for where it came from, and they saw it not too far from the path, and the break happened like a foot off the ground. So something just barely just snapped it off. It was snapped off. It was a clean snap, about 1.5 inches in diameter. And so they put the branch back, and they hiked up all the way to the top. And my dad was saying that they started seeing scat up there. And both of them are there, avid hunters, and they didn't know what animal it was coming from. And they said it stunk really bad. And they were trying to see if they could see anything, hear anything, but they didn't. They didn't that day, so they just came back down.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And where I've heard vocalizations in the past, I've went to investigate the same way your father did, and I would find tree structures and yeah, broken trees, limbs, and it was all very fresh. So yeah, that definitely makes sense. Your dad found the area where this creature was whooping at, and you could tell because there was sign in the area, and like you said, it was snapping these limbs and these saplings
Mhm.
like toothpicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're definitely living around the property and observing you guys. A lot of people have claimed that we're their entertainment. It does seem like that. They seem very interested in humans, and I feel like life can get boring out there, so they like to watch us. And I don't know.
Hmm.
Okay. What else happened after that?
I remember. I don't know if any other families do this, but our family did. We would camp out in the living room. All the family that night. We made a big giant bed on the floor in the living room. My grandma slept on the couch. And I remember it was in the middle of the night that my uncle and my cousin next door, they called us. They called from my late brother and my dad, and they were saying, "Can you help us outside? Can you grab your flashlights?" I remember hearing that from my mom. She was talking to my dad. My dad was telling her, and I could hear it from far away, but I was still sleeping. And this is where one of my first dreams that I like matched up with reality. I was dreaming that they were chasing a Bigfoot off of our property, and you can hear it skidding on the loose gravel. And as it was running away, it was looking back and screaming. And in real life, I could hear them yelling at it. It was like, "Ah, ah, get out of here." And they were chasing it with flashlights. But I was seeing that in my dream as well. And as soon as it hit the pavement, it was just making slapping noises, really loud slapping noises. And it sounded like a herd of horses, but it was just one being. And all that time, it was looking back and screaming. And years later, in 2021, or before my brother passed, he told his daughter about that story, and he told her exactly what I saw in my dream. He said it was the scariest night of his life when he had to chase it off the property with my dad and my uncle and my cousin. They chased it up until it ran across the road and up on the hill where my dad and them seen the scat and everything.
Wow. Yeah, I've had similar dreams in the past where what I'm dreaming is exactly what happened, like when I woke up. And one example was my brother had his friend over staying the night, and I had a dream that his dad had a heart attack. And I woke up and I even said to myself, oh man, Robbie's dad had a heart attack. Like it was such a real dream. And I was just kind of confused and like trying to convince myself that it was just a dream. But I noticed the door was cracked in my room. It was really dark in my room, but the door was cracked and I could see light in the crack and I could hear voices. So I got up to see what was going on. And I saw my dad standing in the living room with my brother and his friend Robbie. And I asked him what's going on. And my dad said Robbie's dad had a heart attack and we're taking him home. But
Oh,
I just thought that was the strangest thing because I dreamed it and woke up and that's what was happening.
hey.
But yeah, I definitely believe your dream. So you were dreaming that they were chasing off this Sasquatch creature and it was screaming as it was running away. And when you got up, what they experienced was pretty much identical to what you were dreaming.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I found out years later when my brother retold that story. It was exactly how my dream was.
wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And in the Christian religion, they say that God will contact us through our dreams, visions. You might hear a voice, have a feeling, etc. And yeah, I mean, when I had those experiences, I was like, wow, that is, I guess it's true. Because when you just hear something like that, it just sounds fabricated, made up, like fantasy. But people are having strange dreams that seem to align with reality. And in your culture, is this a thing, like being contacted through dreams, whether by cryptid creatures or the divine? Have you heard anything about that through the natives or First Nations
Yes.
people?
Yes. I have dreams all the time.
Okay. Yeah. And they seem to line up with what's happening.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah, dreams must be significant because there's like the natives would use like dream catchers. I'm not sure exactly what they're for, but it seems like things can come into your dreams.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, the slapping noise that the creature made when his feet hit the pavement, that's pretty freaky. And
Yeah.
the fact that
Sounded like it was flat footed.
uh-huh. Oh man. Yeah, that's scary. I can't imagine how you felt hearing that and dreaming that. And that they experienced it when they were out there. So they really were screaming at the creature and telling it to get out. That really
Yeah, they
happened.
were really yelling at it.
Wow.
Yelling at it to get out of here and everything.
What experiences did he have prior to that before he contacted your family and told them to grab the flashlights and to come out there? What was happening before that? Did you ever hear anything about what they experienced before they went out there to chase off the creature?
I don't remember that part, but I think it was just outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They started chasing it.
Yeah, it was either outside and similar to What was the experience before that? Like where it was laying in a ditch, or it was like looking through the window, or like, I don't know, hitting the side of the house. It's hard to say, but it was definitely on the
Hmm.
property. We know that.
Yeah. Or it was by the creek. We live by a creek.
Hmm. Okay. So you got the game trail, the creek, you got forest around you, wildlife. You got a recipe for Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Hmm. Did you guys ever experience anything unexplainable there? I don't know. I call it supernatural. Some people call it I don't know what they call it, but as far as like orbs, anything like that,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
actually have a video of an orb on the window cam, one of the window cameras.
Mhm. Yeah.
I would see orbs.
Wow. Okay. And
And I'll get into the like the paranormal, I guess,
yeah.
as I continue.
Okay. What supernatural things
But
have
there
you
was
experienced, and what science calls just unexplainable? What unexplained mysteries have you experienced?
it was June 2023, and it was just me and my nephew, my two daughters, and my late brother home, and we're all in the.
With all that being said, let's dive straight into Kathleen's Bigfoot encounters from the state of Alaska and the reservation in New Mexico.
Bedroom together, and my brother was in his own room, and we were watching YouTube, and my daughters fell asleep, and they were facing towards the east, and they had their bunk bed facing towards the east, their heads facing towards the east, and so my nephew asked if we could watch like a try not to laugh video on YouTube, and we watched one video, and as the video was switching, when it got really quiet, from behind me, I heard something whisper in my ear. It was like, "Mama," and it sounded just like my older daughter. But when I looked back, um, there was nothing right there, and I just realized that my daughter was facing towards the opposite direction. And as I was looking back and trying to figure out what I just heard, my nephew turned to me. He was like, "You heard that too?" And that's when I freaked out, and I thought he didn't hear it. And that's when I grabbed his hand and I said a prayer. I said a short prayer, and that feeling of fear left. But not even 5 minutes later, my brother called us to his room, and he was like, "You guys didn't hear that scream?" And we were like, "No," because we were watching TV already. And he said, "Something screamed outside, and it sounded like it was running towards A side, B side. It's a neighborhood down the road from us, and it was facing um, towards the west of us." And that's where I heard that whisper, and it sounded just like my older daughter. And it sounded like he said it sounded like a woman screaming and running away.
Wow. So at the same time that you had this supernatural divine experience, there was cryptid activity taking place outside. Do you feel like it was some sort of warning? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. I found it kind of freaky that it was in my daughter's voice, my older daughter's voice, and I really don't know what it was outside. I know my brother had his window open, but he didn't see anything. All he heard was the footsteps running away.
Yeah, I've experienced similar. I wonder if it has anything to do with shoot, I don't know what they call it, like a doppelganger. I can't remember what it is, but it's like a
Like a
look-alike.
mimic.
Yeah, like it mimics
Like a
people.
mimic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's freaky.
No, yeah.
It was just freaky to experience. That was my first time.
Mm-hmm. I've had a few experiences like that. One time I was hanging out with my friend in his basement at his place, and we were playing PlayStation. I think we were playing like Call of Duty or something, and it was just me and him down there. Nobody else was in the house, and I heard exactly. It sounded just like his sister, and the voice was in my ear. I could feel the breath, and it said Miguel. And and I looked over and I said, "What?" As I was holding the PlayStation controller, and there was nobody there. That scared me because it sounded just like his sister,
Oh,
and we were in a room. The door was shut. There was nobody else in there, but I heard a clear voice.
wow.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe it was a warning. I don't know. Nothing happened, but I don't know. I have my own thoughts about that situation, but it's just too hard to say. But in your case, it does sound like it was warning you when you heard mama. Like there was a
Yeah.
Sasquatch out there screaming its head off. And yeah, it definitely sounded like a
I just,
warning.
I just remember feeling the fear, and I know my nephew felt it too, and I prayed it away, and after it left, that's when it screamed.
Yeah.
But we didn't hear the scream because we were watching TV.
It's always nice when you have somebody else around you who experiences the activity, even if it's like a pet, like if you have a dog and the dog's reacting to what you heard. But when you experience something like that by yourself, it really makes you question your own sanity. But yeah, it's good that you had your nephew there to be like, did you hear that?
Yeah. It
Wow.
took me a while to realize what I was hearing, but I just grabbed his hand and started praying.
hmm And is it just like a prayer that you made up in the moment, or do you have like a certain prayer to ward off evil?
I was just like, um, I was just, I grew up praying, like praying household. I just prayed the fear away and like any kind of foul spirit to leave this property in Jesus' name.
hmm
And I just said a simple prayer like that, and not even 5 minutes later, that's when my brother heard the scream because his window was open.
Yeah. For me, that's an important clue because I definitely believe this phenomenon, as far as the cryptids, is tied into the supernatural. But I mean, other people who are more take a more scientific approach, they would say, that's just a coincidence. But yeah, for me, I feel like the Sasquatch, they're spiritual beings. What are your thoughts about that, and what are your beliefs about the cryptid creatures?
I believe they're spiritual beings, and I believe the young ones are in training to be spiritual. That's why they're like mainly tricksters or troublemakers, and they
Hmm.
get scolded by the older ones.
Yeah. And no doubt they're physical creatures. Like they're getting
Yeah,
into people's trash cans. They're hunting elk and deer. They leave tracks and leave sign behind as far as tree structures, glyphs, broken branches. They make audible vocalizations. They're definitely real creatures, real physical creatures, but there seems to be something else beneath it. And I
yeah.
believe it's the supernatural. Science says it's just something that we can't explain. And there's got to be a plausible explanation to why people are seeing the orbs. And I just feel like they're dismissing the supernatural. And that's why they're not getting anywhere with it. Because at some point, you have to acknowledge that there is a spiritual realm, there are other realms. And I don't know. People just
Hmm.
relabel things as far as like calling something mind speak when all along there's been the term telepathy. It's the same thing, or I don't know. They just redub things, if that makes sense.
My dad's always saying um, something like, it's more real in the spirit. Like what we can't see is just as real as what we can see.
hmm Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like the spiritual realm is it's a lot more real than our world. If anything, we're kind of living like in a matrix that's not as in depth as the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And what transpired after you heard the voice and there was the creature outside screaming?
I don't remember anything that happened. Nothing major happened, just the scream.
Hmm. But later on in your life, what else unfolded? Days later, years later?
Hmm.
You had that video of the eyes that you sent me. Can you tell
Oh,
me
yeah.
about the eyes?
Oh, it was June or January 3, just this past January into 2026. And I remember that date because that was one of the nights that the Seahawks played. And my mom was really texting me like, the Seahawks just touched down. You're gonna come watch? And I was like, okay, wait, mom. And I remember my room was hot that evening, and it just got dark. And I was gonna, I got up to close my window, my little bedroom window, and I noticed what looked like eyes coming from across the creek. And I tried to capture it on my phone, but it couldn't pick it up for some reason. So I called my niece over to my window, and I was like, "Can your phone pick this up? Look those eyes. There's they look like eyes across the creek." And that's when she started recording, and you can see in the video that we didn't know what we were looking at first. And I grabbed my flashlight, and it turns like into a spotlight. And once I shine the light on it, I can see black, like the silhouette of a black being. And that's what you can see. My hand started shaking because I knew what I was looking at. And I was really trying to be brave holding the flashlight, but you can clearly see I was shaking up. And I remember we recorded it for a little, like a couple minutes, and uh, it was still looking at us when we decided to close the window. And I showed my dad, and he ended up telling me that he's seen the same eye shine from in that area 3 nights before on December 31st, like during the same time, like around 5-6 p.m.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So whatever it is, it's been showing up around the same time frame. So yeah, I saw the video that you shared. It's really high off the ground. The eyes are really far
Yes,
apart. That's scary.
right where it's standing, there's like a bowl-shaped dip. It's like kind of deep too. So whatever that was pretty tall.
Okay, so you've had a lot of experiences around your house, on the property, and in nearby areas. What do you think are the Sasquatch's intentions? Do you think they're evil? Do you think they're bad? Do you think they're guarding you guys? Because if they wanted to hurt you guys, they easily could have.
I think they just like to watch us, as like you said. They're just curious. Even though my grandma used to tell us not to bother it, it still shows up and bothers us around the house.
Yeah. And I've heard Native Americans call them the Watchers, and that seems to be true. Like they're always observing campers and watching people through their windows or outside in the wood line, just watching. And could it
Mhm.
just simply be curiosity, or are they up to something?
I think they're pretty curious.
Hmm.
It's like we're their television.
Yeah, we really are, and they possibly want to get into something, whether it's our trash cans, we leave food outside, and maybe we're unknowingly attracting these creatures. Maybe there's an apple tree out in the yard. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. And you could see the silhouette from the creature when you saw the eye shine. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow.
So
See,
we could actually see black.
mm-hmm.
It being black.
a lot of the eye shine that I've seen, I couldn't see a silhouette. So it's hard to say what it was. But in my earlier days, when I originally had my encounters in 2019, I saw the eye shine, but like when I'd shine the light into the woods, like it wouldn't penetrate into the woods. You can just see the eyes glowing. And one of the sets of eyes rose up to about 10 feet plus, like an elevator. It was scary.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, then again, they were just watching. I don't know what they were up to. I know there was like a few foxes in the yard and they were like crying out like a fox in distress call. So I feel like it attracted the Sasquatch that they came in to see what was going on.
Wow.
Hmm. And you said that happened like to your father in December and to you, it happened in January 2026. Does it get really cold there in New Mexico? Does it stay the same temperature year round?
It gets pretty cold during the winter months,
Hmm.
as low as the 20s,
Yeah.
probably the teens.
Okay. And the other experiences that you've had in the past, can you recall if they're in the spring, the summer, the fall time?
The the main ones in the 90s happened during the summertime, in the 2000s, early 2000s, and the early 2010s happened in the summertime because I didn't live here yet.
Yeah. So it sounds like these creatures are around the property year round and they're possibly
Yeah.
migrating from maybe one county to another and using these game trails. And for some reason, they like to stop by your place.
Yeah. My grandma mentioned that she would hear activity like year round because she used to live in that house by herself. Well, my uncle was next door, but she lived in that house by herself.
Wow. And that's pretty wild. You experience activity in Alaska. You'd hear these creatures howling and
Yeah.
screaming. And then when you move to New Mexico, or you move back to New Mexico, you're experiencing more activity.
Yeah. Um, I remember there was one time my parents had some friends in Arizona. They would come visit during the 4th of July because we used to have they used to come over for the 4th of July events. There was a rodeo and everything. That's what they enjoyed with their two granddaughters. And the the last year they came, um, they slept in a pop-up tent. They decided to sleep right next to the creek. And my grandma was warning them, like, you should sleep closer to the house. You might hear something. I'm warning you right now. You should sleep near the house, not by the creek. And sure enough, that night, something picked up their pop-up tent slowly and slowly put them back down. And the next morning, they were all freaking out. And my grandma was like, I told you, I tried to warn you. But ever since then, they haven't. That was the last time they came
Wow.
after they experienced that.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a terrifying experience for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they didn't appreciate them camping next to the creek, and possibly that's where they're living at, where they want to be at.
Yeah. In that area, that's where it's mainly it goes because it's right across from the driveway, the pavement driveway. And you just walk straight and you just make it right to the creek.
Yeah. I know you said you're a Christian, but do you guys still hold your old beliefs from the Native Americans? Like, do you guys utilize any of that information anymore? I mean, it's your culture, it's where you came from, but what beliefs do you still carry to this day that your people told you about, as far as cryptids or anything supernatural?
I just know I was always told just to respect them and they'll respect you. We're really big on respect on either part of my culture, Apache and Inupa. Respect is a big part of our culture.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. And I've heard natives call them the guardians of the forest, and they're kind of the police officers of the woods. So if you're doing something wrong, they're going to let you know about it.
And I believe that they know if you're good or bad. They just watch you all the time.
Yeah, I believe that. And it sounds like they hung around the house because you guys are good people. They trusted you guys and they felt safe to be around you guys compared to other people in the area.
Hmm. I don't know too much of other people's experiences on the reservation, but we've been experiencing pretty a lot since the 90s here. And I remember in Christmas 2005, we actually went here and it just snowed. And I asked my younger sister if she wanted to go outside. We had nothing to do and wanted to just be outside in the snow. And right next to our house, there's an apple tree. Right next to the apple tree, I seen really big footprints, and they were facing towards the front door. And I ran to my sister and I told her what I seen. So we both decided to follow the trail. You could see it turn around in the snow, and it was walking in a straight line. It wasn't walking. It looked like it wasn't walking too fast, but it was in a straight line, and it made like a U turn, and it went through the yard. In front of our house, there's a blue spruce tree, and it stopped right there, and it turned towards the house, and that right where it turned, it's facing towards the back porch, and you can see it make another U-turn, and it walked all the way down the field on our property. We followed it all the way down into my uncle's yard, and at the fence line is when we stopped because it got quiet and we felt like we were being watched, and so we just calmly walked back. But that's what we seen that morning.
Wow, that's pretty intense. How big do you think the tracks were?
They were huge, probably about 15 to 17 inches. Really wide too. Back then we didn't have a camera or anything to measure it.
Yeah. Giant
And we were
mob
just
feet.
teens.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. What year did you say that happened in?
Christmas 2005.
Okay, 2005. I wrote down 2025, my bad. And
Oh,
do you find yourself staring out the window looking for these creatures, like leaving your house and looking into the wood line, wondering where they are?
yes, all the time. Like, ooh, what if I see it run across right here? I
Hmm.
would remember all these stories and I would like, ooh, what if I see it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why
But I
certain
actually
people,
seen it before. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's why certain people have more experiences because once you know they're there, you've seen them or you found evidence, you're looking for them. So you're having more experiences later down the road because you're not just oblivious to it like most people who hear something and say, "Oh, that
Hmm.
was just an owl," or "That's probably people out in the woods," and or they don't even acknowledge it, like it doesn't register through their brain.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Do you ever leave anything for the Sasquatch? Like, have you ever put any apples out there, or try to talk to them, or interact with them in any sort of way?
Well, like I said, we have an apple tree right next to our house. We have a pear tree in the back of our house. We have an apricot tree next to the apple tree. And just last October, uh, there was still apples in the tree, and we noticed there was a pile of white mushrooms that were underneath the part of the tree that where the apples were gone. Like one whole side of the tree, all the apples were gone, and there was just a pile of white mushroom, really big white mushrooms.
Wow. So they left you guys a gift. Essentially,
Yeah,
they traded with you guys.
yeah, that's what I figured.
Hmm. Yeah. Where I had my
And
encounters, we had a pear tree, and it would usually be loaded with pears, and maybe that's why they were around. I think it was 2 years ago. It was full of pears, and I thought it just needs another 2 weeks, then it'll be ready for me to take a few pears because I had already tried them and they were a little bitter. So I just waited, and shortly after that, every single pear was gone, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, man, the raccoons, like, there's no way they could eat that many pears in one single night.
mhm, wow,
Yeah. So I wonder if it was a Sasquatch.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, the pear
Cause
tree is right next to the wood line where I've seen them before.
wow,
Hmm.
my mom noticed the mushrooms and she was wondering how they were so big. Cause the ones we get from the store are just like half the size of those mushrooms we seen. They're probably about the size of the apples.
Wow. Yeah. I'm curious as to what type of mushrooms they were.
I have a video of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just white.
Yeah.
They were placed on the ground.
It might be important to find out which ones, what type of mushrooms they were, and if people ever try to like gift in the future or leave them food, it'll be important to use those specific types of mushrooms, and maybe they'll get more interaction with them.
Okay.
Mm.
There was another time that we had a party. This was back in the 2000s somewhere. We just had a party, and my sister and I, my younger sister and I, we usually sit on the back porch when it's nice and cool at night. And there was a aluminum pan full of leftover meat, leftover bones and fat. They were all in that aluminum pan, and they was on the porch, the back porch with us. And we were really talking and laughing away, and it got dark on us. And we did the same thing. We were like, "Ew, what if it's watching us?" Because we were felt like we were being watched. And so we ran inside and we went to our room. Our window was open, and we heard a rustling noise. So we checked. That whole pan was gone. And my younger sister went to the restroom and she came back. By the time it came back, we heard the same rustling noise, and we looked out the window, and that pan was back. Right, we're in the same spot. We didn't want to check that night to see if it was empty, but we waited till the next morning, and sure enough, the whole thing was empty. There was not one piece of bone or anything left in that pan. So it was probably watching us, waiting for us to move so it can get the pan of goodies.
Yeah, it does sound like it. And did your family ever talk with any other families on the reservation and ask them if they've experienced activity as well?
Yes. Um, just not too long ago, just a couple days ago, I was talking to my mom about what I'm going to be doing on here, and she was telling me her stories, and we were talking about all these stories. And that morning, tribal maintenance came, and one of the guys stopped to us, and my mom told him what we're doing. Like, we're talking about Bigfoot. And he ended up saying where he lives is deeper into the mountains. And he says there's a family of him, family of Sasquatch living near his property. And he says there's big ones, little ones, and really small baby ones. And they would be outside on his property, and he said he just wouldn't bother them.
Wow. I wonder if it's the same family group that you guys have encountered.
Maybe because that's pretty close to where, not too close, but a couple mountains over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That wouldn't be too far away for a Sasquatch to travel around, but also there could be different family groups in the same area as far as like cousins and uncles and other
Yeah.
siblings. Maybe they split off and make their own families.
hmm And there's a place on top. There's watchtowers in the mountains, and by one of the watchtowers, people would see a family of it living near in the area, because I guess they would be partying up there,
Mhm.
and they they would see a big one, a little one, and a really small one walk out of the tree line and look at them and walk back into the tree line. And it was seen by multiple people up there.
Wow. Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. Did your family ever hunt? Like, did they go elk hunting and I don't know, outdoor activities?
Yes, my dad used to hunt a lot as he grew up in Alaska. My uncle is a hunter. My cousin is a hunter. My late brother actually hunted a lot too,
Yeah.
both down here and up there
Hmm.
in Alaska.
I feel like hunters unknowingly interact with the Sasquatch when they're sitting out there for hours or just hunting game species in general or even fishing. And sometimes the Sasquatch will follow you back home.
hmm I remember my dad just told me yesterday that they were hunting one time in Alaska, and they wanted to conserve gas, so they decided to turn the motor off and just started floating down the river. And on the hill, he said there was something tall and black just looking at them, floating by. I was like, wow.
Yeah. That's incredible. And yeah, the fact that other family members have encountered the Sasquatch in the area and they have seen them, like you said, multiple people, that's truly extraordinary. And I just feel like these creatures want to be left alone, but sometimes they interact with people and they get caught out in the open. But up in Alaska, I hear that the Sasquatch aren't as friendly, and it could be due to the fact that they're not as acclimated as the Sasquatch are. Like out here in the lower 48, they're used to seeing people, but up there in Alaska, they're not as used to people as they are here. So maybe they get a little bit more grumpy, or it's just a completely different clan of Sasquatch up there and a completely different mindset or a different type of
Mm,
Sasquatch. It's hard to say.
yeah. I always thought Bigfoot wasn't in Alaska when I was growing up, but come to find out it actually was. And I think we actually heard it howling. Um, it was in the late 90s. And back then, my mom had a sleepover at the school. She was a third grade teacher. And that night, my dad told scary stories and Bigfoot stories, and he played some vocalizations from the Beer Furrow website. And next day, me and my younger sister and my cousin were walking home, and my parents were still cleaning up the classroom, and we're in the middle of going home, and it was really quiet that morning. Like the whole town was quiet. There was nobody out. It was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I remember it was winter time, and there's a dump site on the outskirts of town and on the west side of the town. And on that side, we started hearing something howling. It did it 3 times, and it was just really loud. We thought it was the siren going off because there's like a curfew siren, but it wasn't coming from that part of the town. It was coming from the dump area, and it was just like, ooh. And then when it stopped, it was like, ooh, like that. And it did that 3 times. By the third time, we were running home, and all those dogs that are near in the neighborhood, like just not too far from the dumps, they started barking. They started barking hard. And when I told my mom that story, she ended up telling me there was one lady walking to work. She worked at the school, and there's a road, or there's no roads in that town. It's just boardwalks. And she was walking to work on the boardwalk, and it's not too far from the dumps. And she looked towards the dump area, and she said she seen a big man in all black, looking through the trash. And I thought that was freaky. And I always thought Sasquatch wasn't up there in Alaska. I thought we were Bigfoot free.
Yeah. That is scary. And the way you describe the vocalizations is very similar to audio recordings that I've heard in the past. And yeah, I've wondered if these things would get into dumps and look for food because just the smell of it, I feel like it would attract all
Hmm.
kinds of predators.
Yeah,
And your grandmother seeing something that looked like a huge man in there just solidifies everything. That's definitely what it
yeah.
was.
There was one time, it was in the 90s as well. And back then, my, my aunt was a teacher, and her husband was a teacher as well. And they lived on the outskirts of town. And sometimes they would have to walk to work, and it would be dark. And my uncle was in front of her holding the flashlight, and my aunt was walking behind him. And I don't know if he was walking, like stepping on the footprints or beside it, or guiding her like away from the footprint. But when he when they reached the boardwalks, he said he was seeing really huge footprints on the boardwalk, and it was just beginning to get frosty. And he thought it was really weird. And I don't know if he was stepping on the footprints or guiding her away from the footprints. But my mom said not too long after that, he got really sick. He couldn't even get out of bed, anything. And come to find out, he had walking pneumonia. So I don't know if it was related to that incident or not,
Yeah.
of the footprints in the snow.
I don't know. It's a possibility. When you first described it, made me wonder if he got hit by infrasound, but since he had walking
Yeah,
pneumonia, it's hard to say what happened there,
yeah.
but you never know. There could be a connection.
Hmm. I was always told not to step in the footprints, because my grandma would tell me, "Don't step in them, or you're gonna dream about it, or you're gonna see it." And that's what she would always tell me.
Yeah. It could be a possibility.
Hmm.
Okay. And do you plan on doing any research in the future or just hiking trails to look for them? Or do you think they should just be left alone and you don't want anything to do with them?
In reality, I don't even have to leave my house. They come near our house still. But
Yeah.
ever since we put up the cameras, there's one in my bedroom, the one I recorded out of, the little window, and we put one in the living room window. They're both facing towards the creek. Ever since then, we haven't seen anything. But I actually had a dream about that. Like shortly after putting up the second camera, I was dreaming that right where we've seen the eye shine, uh, in that area, there was a portal right there, and it looked like a portal from Minecraft. I don't know if you ever seen those, but it was an oval shaped portal, and it was really big, and it was dark gray, and it looked staticky, and there was a lot of Bigfoot walking out of there. And what freaked me out was the little one, because I haven't seen those before. They were not even that tall, probably like 3, 4 feet. And there was big ones and little ones. The biggest one walked out of that portal, and it was huge. Uh, and it had gray hair. It looked like it had a long gray beard and just gray all over its body. And it was the biggest one. And I could see it in detail, the face and everything. It looked like a man. It didn't have any face on its hair, but it had face around it. I mean, hair around it. And I actually heard it talking in my dream, like the samurai talk. And it was pointing towards the cameras in the living room in my bedroom. It was pointing to the camera where it was placed, and it was pointing to the group it was with. And I can't even I can't even do the samurai talk. It was just like like really deep guttural voice talking. And I figured that it was telling them that we have to leave this place, this area. We have to move down the stream, and we can't be seen on camera. And it was getting after the ones that almost got caught on camera. And I actually have video of something like a shadowy being or something on the top of the head that passed my bedroom window camera. And I have a video of a shadow near our truck, and it looked really tall. And but in my dream, um, they started packing up their things. They started packing up their things that they stole from people's yards. They stole a lot of clothes, cans. They started picking up. Uh, the little one was starting to pick up toys that they stole from little kids. They picked up blankets, stuffed animals, like toys. And they were just gathering their things, and they started walking downstream. And whoever lived by the creek downstream, you can just hear them screaming because they were just seeing a group of Sasquatch walk through their property. And whenever the families were screaming, they were just screaming back at them. And that's when I woke up. I remember I woke up crying. I haven't heard that before.
Wow. That's really intense. I wonder if
Yeah,
there's a family down the road that's experiencing activity now.
maybe. That's my guess.
Mhm.
But I noticed ever since then, it wouldn't come to the front of the house. There's more activity in the back of the house where there's no cameras and where it's more dark.
Yeah.
And just not too long after that, in May, uh, my parents' bedroom window bedroom is near the back porch. And early in the morning, my mom gets up and gets ready for dialysis. And my dad was still in bed, and his bed is right next to the window. And he said he started hearing something on the back porch, like rumbling, and he didn't know what it was. He thought it was my mom getting ready. So he paid no attention to it. And he waited till daylight, and he opened the blind, and there was a table right next to his window. And he said it was moved. He said, whatever that was moved the window and trying to open his window. I mean, hit the table. He tried to move the table and try to open his window. I thought that was pretty freaky.
Yeah, that is really freaky. And your dream's not too far out there. A lot of people have theorized that these creatures are utilizing portals and coming in from other dimensions to gather resources, whether it's gathering food, killing deer, or whatever they need, and they go back to wherever they come from.
Mhm.
It's a plausible explanation because we don't find bones. People have found tracks in the snow that just seem to disappear. They see and witness the orbs appearing and disappearing along with Bigfoot activity. It's not an isolated event where people just see orbs. I mean, it can be. A lot of times it is, but there are times where people see these orbs along with hearing wood knocks, trees being pushed over, whoops, vocalizations, finding tree structures, etc.
Mhm. Ever since putting up the cameras, that's all I see is orbs now,
Mm-hmm.
mainly in the front area.
And do you guys
And
ever hear like metal banging out in the woods? A lot of people say that's
yeah,
associated with a portal.
I actually heard that like a couple weeks ago. Um, it's just like playing like 2 times, and that's all I heard. And it was late at night, and I don't know what I heard, but
Yeah.
it sounded like it was near the creek where I seen that eye shine.
Wow. And do you hear wood knocks around the property often?
Mm, not too often, but we would hear whoops,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of whooping sounds.
Yeah.
And it was one time in 2023, I was outside talking on the phone, and my niece went inside, and I was outside by myself. And while I was on the phone, I heard one single whoop near the creek. And I thought it was a drunk person because it sounded like a really big man. And I thought I was going to hear a drunk person start yelling, but it was just that one time. It was just like whoop, and then nothing else. So I just went inside after that.
Yeah. And did you guys put curtains over the windows after those incidents?
Yes, I actually bought the windows, all the windows, blackout curtains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't
In
blame
my
you.
bedroom, my daughter's bedroom, the living room, they all have blackout curtains.
Yeah. I'm sure that helps deter the Sasquatch along with the trail cameras. And I mean,
Hmm.
it's hard to say if it pushes them to the next county over, but it definitely keeps them at bay, keeps them from coming up closer.
Because before we put up the cameras, we would get handprints all the time on my bedroom window and my daughter's bedroom window. Only on our windows, not nowhere else in the house. And I was wondered why. Is it's probably attracted to women and children, as I've heard before. But I have pictures of really big handprints. And there was one time that it actually broke my little bedroom window. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. I heard a pop on my window. And I didn't check because I was really tired that time. So I went back to sleep, and it was uh, January. And so it was really cold when I woke up. And I was wondering why I woke up really cold. And I opened the curtain and my window was pushed in and it was barely hanging on. And I ran to my dad right away. And I didn't even think to take a picture of it, how it looked, because I just ran straight to my dad. I was just like, I just gasped and I ran to my dad. And he fixed it right away, but I have pictures of the fingerprints where it pushed it in and it's like holding on to the corners. And you can see the hand that pushed it in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you'll have to send that to me. Did you notice anything unusual about the handprint? Like, was it really greasy looking? Did the dermal ridges look a lot
Yeah,
bigger?
the fingers are really long
Hmm.
and they look dirty, like greasy, because it left a good and good imprint on the window, like really clear.
Yeah. And do you anticipate more activity to take place in the future?
Oh yeah, I, I'm pretty sure it'll keep coming around because we do live by a creek, and it's always getting stocked up with fish by the tribe. There's always fish in that creek,
Wow. Yeah. I would
and our
definitely,
apples.
yeah, I would bet they're going to come back, especially if there's running water consistently in the creek. It has fish and you got apple trees and yeah.
And plus, we don't have any dogs at the moment, just a cat.
Hmm. Well, definitely pay attention to the cat and how it reacts to anything around. I feel like the cat would start acting a little finicky if these creatures were outside in the yard.
Yeah, I actually have a little story about that. I don't know if it's Bigfoot related, but I remember it was last year during the eclipse one night. It was during the springtime, and our cat escaped, and he ran across the creek during around the area where we had that seen the eye shine, and he was gone for how many hours, and we're about to go inside because it was about to get stormy. We could see the uh, clouds coming in, and it was starting to get windy. And I mean, as a joke, I I called out. I was like, "Bigfoot, please give us back our cat. We need our cat Chubbs. Please don't hurt him." I was saying that, and we were laughing. And not even 5 minutes later, we started hearing Chubbs. His name is Chubbs. We started hearing Chubbs meowing from far away on the other side of the creek, and he ended up popping out right where the eye shine was. And he jumped across the creek to us. And just when we went inside, the storm just went crazy that night. So I'm glad he went inside. But I don't know if that was Bigfoot related. And later on, I would say to my nieces and my nephews, like, "Ew, what if he was just holding Chubbs and petting him
Yeah, that's a
and watching
possibility.
us?"
You never know. One of my friends that was having sightings behind his house in the national forest. Um, we were there one day and the Sasquatch came up right when it got dark and they were doing loud, powerful wood knocks all around the house in the wood line. And I was trying to experience more activity, so I was standing right there at the edge of the yard, right in front of the woods, and I hear something coming at me, something on all fours. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a Sasquatch or something coming out of the woods because we know they were in there. His dog came out of the
Mhm.
woods and he looked really happy. He was wagging his tail. And that's the only thing we theorized was the Sasquatch befriended his dog and they were out there hanging out with each other.
Wow.
Hmm. But for sure, there was Sasquatch out there. I mean, loud, powerful wood knocks. Sounded like somebody took a wooden baseball bat and was hitting it against trees. And it wasn't like deep in the woods. It's right there in the wood line. There was three of them.
Wow.
Hmm. But yeah, the fact that his dog came out of the woods where they were, it just made everything concrete. Like they're hanging out with your dog.
before, I remember in 2011, I think, the house was getting renovated. So we had all the furniture on the back porch, and there was sheets covering all the furniture. And one of the cats just had kittens. They were outdoor cats back then. And I remember there was one kitten that kept coming around to my younger sister and I. And we went out to eat that evening. And by the time we came back, it was already dark. And we were going to check on the kitten on the back porch. And because it was the only one that was coming up to us. And my dad was the first one to go outside. And he turned around right away and he was mad. And he got a Walmart bag. He's like, something killed that kitten. It was on the one of the steps on the back porch, and it was flat as a pancake. There was no blood at all. The whole kitten was flat. And my dad got mad. I remember he got mad and he started yelling through the darkness. He was on the lawn and he was yelling through the darkness. Leave us alone. We didn't bother you. We don't bother you. Leave us alone. What do you want from us? I remember he was yelling like that. And I think because of that time, I think that's why it didn't bother our current cat.
Yeah. I wonder if they intentionally killed the cat or if they accidentally stepped on it and felt bad about it and brought it to the porch.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking it probably accidentally stepped on it.
Mm. Yeah, it's a
But there was
possibility.
no blood at all.
Yeah.
It was just completely flat. It was so sad.
I wonder if you ever, because you said you're a gamer, if you ever like set up your TV and your system outside and play games outside. I know you said you like to play like Overwatch, Call of Duty, things like that. I wonder if that would attract the
Yeah.
Sasquatch, and I feel like they've never seen anything like that before.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually put it on the back porch before, but my nephew did that too when he used to come over and game. He used to actually do that a lot too. But I don't know if there was anything that came over to watch him play. But I
Yeah.
remember summer 2024, I was actually playing a game on my PlayStation, and I had my little window was cracked a little bit. I remember that, and I know there was monsters in my game, but I had one earmuff off of my ear. It was the ear that was like closest to my little window, and just when it got quiet, I heard a single grunt, like it was really deep grunt right outside my little window, and I paused and I froze, and I was calling my nephew who was in the next room and telling him what I heard. And as I was telling him, not even 5 minutes later, it something walked around the corner to my bigger bedroom window, and it scratched the top of the window. And at the top, it's really high up. It's about 8 feet tall on the top of the window. And it was so loud, the scratch, that my friend that I was playing with, he heard the scratching on the window. And I know it wasn't a branch or anything because the little tree that was right there, it's more towards the left and it's away from my bedroom window. So I don't know what we heard, but I thought that was kind of freaky. And I don't know if the sounds from the game was attracting it because the game was actually called The Forest.
Oh wow. Yeah, it very well could be. I know you said you listen to Sasquatch Theory while you're gaming, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've heard in the
I play my
past,
little farming game.
yeah, I heard in the past, I don't know how true it is, like other reservations in the United States have large amounts of missing people. Is that a thing in New Mexico? Are there a lot of missing people in the reservation?
Mm, not really, but I remember hearing a story from my dad that he was talking to one of his friends around on the reservation, and there was a crash that happened, and I don't think the guy made it, but the lady did, and I think she got taken because they couldn't find her body anywhere. And I think they think that Bigfoot took her and left the guy because they couldn't find her body anywhere. She was gone.
Wow. I wonder why they chose her, like what they wanted. I don't know if she made them upset or if they just wanted her in particular.
Maybe her. I think they're more curious about women
Hmm.
and children because there were a lot of times that we were being watched. There was one time in spring 2024. It was spring break, and we have our basketball room outside. And my niece and my nephew, my two daughters, were shooting hoops outside. And me and my daughters decided to go inside to start making dinner. And before that, we went to my bedroom and was watching them from my bedroom window because they were still outside. And um, from where we were looking from the bedroom window, right by the creek, there's an old doghouse. Right below that doghouse, there was something standing right there, something black, just looking towards my niece and my nephew that was still outside shooting hoops. And at first, we thought it was a tree stump, but there's no tree that's right there. It was really still watching them. And not even 10 seconds later, they ran inside. My niece and my nephew. They said, they seen it, they seen it. We seen it. All we seen was big legs running away. It ran across the creek and it went into the bushes. We could hear the trees rustling. I was like, ugh. It was probably what we seen standing right there. It wasn't too big, but it was big enough. It was tall enough, like to where we can see it from my bedroom window. I thought that was pretty freaky.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it definitely sounds like they're interested in the women and the children for some reason. Whether,
Mhm.
I don't know, I hate to say whether they want to take them or if they're more compassionate towards like children and women. Like women are more gentle than men, and children, maybe the juveniles can relate to, but it's hard to say.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to have your camera ready the next time. Maybe you can capture one of these things on film. I feel like you have a really good shot, especially since they're living around the property and they've been known to come up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll try to move around the cameras to see if we could see anything.
Yeah.
Because right now it's still in the same spots, bedroom window and the living room window. I
Yeah.
haven't like moved it around. We just have two cameras right now.
Okay. Yeah. See if that changes things up. I'm sure if you switch one of the cameras, like you said, you might capture something, you might throw them off because maybe they're looking through a window that isn't near the camera.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anything else you can think of? Any other strange experiences?
My dad actually told me a story about his great great grandpa's brother. Back then in the village there wasn't anything to eat. So the men would go out solo hunting. and fishing. And at that time, he was fishing, and he had a fish rack, and he would, whenever he has fish, he would put it on the fish rack to start drying, and he started noticing the choice parts of the fish were being taken, and he didn't like that, so he decided to stay up one night and see what's been taking his fish. And sure enough, it was middle of the night, and he saw what looked like a hand reaching towards the fish rack, and it was feeling around to see if there was any fish, but there wasn't. And as its arm was up, my my dad's great great grandpa's brother, he had a bow and arrow, and he shot it right on the underarm, and he heard it grunt, and he heard it like walking away, and it was walking into the thickets. And up there in Alaska, there's a lot of willows, and he said he heard it walking through the thicket until he couldn't hear it anymore. And so he waited until it was 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning when it started getting bright. And he wanted to follow to see what he killed, because he didn't know what it was. And he said he seen a blood trail, and he followed the blood trail into the thicket, and he saw something laying on the ground. He said it wasn't too big. It was about 6 or 7 feet, but he was circling it. He didn't want to get close to it, but he said it had hair all over its body, all over its hands, all over its face. It was hairy all over, and it was just laying there dead. He killed it. And that's what my dad was saying. I was like, wow.
Wow. And does he believe it was a Sasquatch creature?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
where the name came from. New York being it's like long hair, just long hair all over. And the weird part is, after that happened, it's like the spirit of that thing moved to his tools. Because after that, uh, whenever some people would take his tools without knowing, something would happen to them. And he had to warn people, if you want to use my tools, you have to let me know. Just let me know, even if you make a note. I don't want anything to happen to you. So I don't know what kind of spirit that is that moves to his tools. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that certainly is. And it sounds like they were living in that same area in Alaska as well, similar to what you experienced in New Mexico.
Yeah. And I remember in the same town where my dad grew up, it's called Selawik. It's a Northwest Arctic region. And it's a village. And before my grandparents got a bigger house, they used to live in a really small house. And one of my aunts, she heard rustling outside I don't know what the year was, but it was way before I was born. And she heard rustling outside the window, so she opened the curtains, and there was a hairy man, just had its hands on the window, and it was peeking in through the window right at her, right in front of her face. I was like, wow. I always thought Bigfoot wasn't up there. Actually, was closer than I thought.
Yeah. And it makes sense why campers really experience activity compared to people who are doing long hikes, because when you're hiking, the creature can just wait for you to pass by, wait a few minutes and you're gone. But when you're camping in an area, they possibly get upset and they're more likely to come up to you. And it's similar to the areas that you've lived at. You guys are there, you're stationary, and you're not going anywhere. So they're more likely to
Mm,
approach.
yeah.
Okay.
There was another time where my my mom had a teacher aide friend. She was saying her oldest daughter was awake one night. It was probably in the 90s, and she heard a noise coming from the water because they live on the outskirts of town near the water. And she didn't turn on any lights or anything. She just took a little peek out the window, and she said she's seen something walking out of the water. She said it was tall and black. And she ran to the back and woke everybody up, and they all looked at it, and it walked around their house like looking for food, I guess. And they saw it just calmly walk back into the water, and it disappeared into the water.
Wow. When you say disappeared into the water, like did it get in, like fully submerged or
Yeah,
okay.
submerged into the water,
Wow. Yeah, I've heard
and it swam
reports.
away, it looked like.
I've heard reports where these things can swim like gators through the water.
Oh, dang.
hmm What else have you heard?
My mom told me a story. Um, this happened when she was about 11, 12 years old. So it was in the 1960s on the reservation here. And one night she went to sleep at her grandma's, and she lives right across the highway from where my grandma lives. And she lived in a small house. And at the time, one of my aunties and my little cousin, or he was a baby at the time, we were living there with my grandma. And my mom and my uncle went to go sleep over, and they made a bed on the floor, and my aunt had her own bed, and the baby was by the window. And my mom said she could hear screaming from far away, like she was a little girl. She was hearing screaming from far away, and she woke up, and she was waking up her grandma. And when they woke up, my grandma started walking around the house, and she said the front door was open, like a foot wide. And the little dog that they had a little Pomeranian, and it was really barking towards the front door. And it took a long time for my auntie to calm down, but she finally calmed down, and she told my great grandma um, she was sleeping, and she would sleep on her back, and she had her hand over her forehead, and she was holding the sheet over her face. And she heard a noise, so she uncovered her face, and there was something tall and black, big and black, standing right by her bed, inside the house. And that's when she started screaming. And when she started screaming, it took off outside. It ran outside the door, and that explains the open door, how they found it open. And the next day, she asked my grandma and my grandpa to come check the house. And my grandpa was walking around, and towards the back of the house, he seen really big footprints by the one of the windows in the back. And I thought that was really scary that it was actually inside the house. And I was really asking questions like, did the door lock or anything? And and I guess back then they weren't too worried about people bothering or anything, so I don't think they locked the doors much, or if there was any good locks on the doors.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what
truly
my mom
frightening.
told me.
hmm Yeah, there's this story, the siege of Hinobi in Oklahoma, where the Sasquatch were wiggling the doors every night and like they're like violent, I don't like violently juggling the door handles, which is pretty scary. And on Monster Quest, Jeff Meldrum, when he was still alive, he went to a remote cabin in Canada, and I think he said the nearest house or town was 100 miles away. It was super remote, but the cabin owners claimed that something was getting inside the cabin and destroying everything, and they believe it was the Sasquatch.
Wow.
Do you think in this case it was more of like a spiritual event, like appearing in the house, or it was just coming straight through the door and went inside the house?
It sounded like it came straight through the door. She said it was standing right by her bed, looking at her, sleeping. And I think it was probably looking at the baby too.
I wonder what its intentions were. Like, what did it want?
I don't know.
Mm.
But my aunt didn't mess around. She started screaming. And she started screaming. That's when it took off into the darkness
Yeah,
out the front door.
I don't blame her. It could have took the baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad she woke up.
Yeah. I wonder if she heard something or if her instincts kicked in and she woke up, like she knew something was wrong.
She said she was hearing weird noises, like rustling or something woke her up.
Mm.
And she just peeked over the sheet, and that's what she's seen. She's seen it was really tall and really black.
That
All
would,
she's seen was something tall and black.
yeah, that would traumatize me. I wouldn't be able to go to sleep after that.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know how long she lived with my great grandma, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be sleeping wide eyed, awake with a weapon
Yeah.
right next to me or multiple weapons.
Same year.
Mm-hmm. Wow. But when she screamed, it probably scared the Sasquatch just as much as she was
Mm-hmm.
scared. They were both screaming.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that didn't happen to me, but now I'm gonna be weary when I'm asleep at night. Like, oh no. Something could be here and I have no idea.
That would be freaky, man. That would be something to see, though.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems to happen with every strange mystery that's taken place out there. Like people wake up and there's like an entity, whether it's like a shadow person or whatever, at the end of their bed or right next to them. And also with like aliens, many people have reported waking up and there's like an alien staring down at them. And now cryptids. I think that's the first
Mhm.
report that I've had on the channel where somebody woke up and there was a Sasquatch next to their bed.
Wow. Yeah, I was really freaked out when my mom told me that story, and that's what she remembered when she
Mm-hmm.
was about 11 or 12 years old.
The scary part about it all is it's probably not the first time this thing's done that.
Hmm. I'm pretty sure. I've seen stories on the Beer 40 website. There's a couple stories from the reservation posted, and there's a story where it's reaching into the kitchen window looking for food. And I don't know why it didn't do that when it almost took off my smaller bedroom window. I don't know why it didn't take it off all the way.
Yeah. So it was trying to
I
come
just
in.
heard it pop.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just heard it pop and nothing else.
Yeah, that's scary because you found that handprint on the window. So that
Yeah.
means they're trying to open it.
Hmm. And there's a couple times where it tried to open my bigger window. And back then I used to have a screen on it, and we had to get it replaced multiple times because it would take it off and break it. It would tear it up. So now I don't bother with screens on my windows.
Wow. You'll have to like get a printout of a Sasquatch and like put it up on the window, see if that'll like freak them out. Maybe one with like red eyes. Then they'll stop coming up to the window.
That was the handprint I sent in to BFRO.
Oh, you sent it into
It was
the
a
BFRO?
huge handprint. Yeah, it was a huge handprint. And you could see the top of my screen where it's bent, like where it was trying to take it off. I remember it was 2014. That's when my older daughter was going to start Head Start.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up late getting stuff ready. And right at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's when I started hearing rubbing, like something rubbing up against the screen. And I heard the top of the screen like making rustling noises, like something was bothering it. And that's all I heard. And I didn't think anything. And when I opened my window the next morning, that's when I seen the huge handprints.
Oh, wow.
And the screen on the top.
Yeah. Did you ever hear back from the BFRO, or did they just post the report?
They immediately said, no, it's probably a big man that's trying to open your window. And after that, I didn't say anything else.
Oh, so they
I
like
know no
dismissed
one.
you?
Yeah, they just dismissed me. After that, I didn't bother like sharing anything with anyone.
Yeah.
But I chose your channel with the video because you make it feel safe to share.
Well, I appreciate that. You said you saw the episode where I filmed the eyes out in the woods, and that kind of
Yeah.
prompted you to contact me.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you did. I mean, I definitely believe everything you're telling me, and yeah, that's important information. I can't believe the BFRO dismissed you, but that's not the first time I've heard that, and yeah, I'm not surprised. I wonder if you put a mirror up in the window, what that would do. Have you ever thought about that?
Ooh. Actually, my younger sister was suggesting that.
Really?
But I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah.
But I should do it.
Yeah, there's two things
See
that could
what will
happen there.
happen.
Yeah, it might intensify the activity, or it might freak them out and they don't come back up to the window.
Oh.
But I feel like they'd see it as a challenge.
Yeah.
They might
But
think
it's
one of their
always
own is
looking
in
in
the
our
house.
windows.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
There was even one time in the 90s or early 2000s, my cousin came back. He was a smoke jumper. And he came back from a fire late at night. It was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he lives right next door. And he said he got home and it was really dark. And in between the houses, there was a Bigfoot standing facing towards him, just looking at him. And he freaked out and he ran inside right away. That's what he was telling my mom. Like, oh, and it looked like it was about to look in the windows.
Mm-hmm. So there seems to be a connection with you and your family, and for some reason, these things are trying to contact you, like interact with you and your family.
Yeah, it's always coming around the house. And there was, I remember one night in 2014, it was in the middle of the night, and back then I shared my room with my two daughters, and we shared a big king-size bed. And my younger daughter was sleeping in the middle, and I was sleeping at the edge, and my other daughter was sleeping towards the wall. And she woke up in the middle of the night wanting some juice. And I forgot I left it on the table that night. And when I'm awake by myself, I like talk to myself like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. And So I decided to get up and I went to use the restroom, and the first, like the restroom, um, the first restroom that's closest to the front door. And just before I was gonna go into the restroom, I heard banging on the back porch, and I was like, "There's elk on the back porch banging," and that's all I said. And I did my business, and I just when I turned the corner towards the front door, that's when I started hearing really heavy footsteps. I could, from where I was standing at the end of the hall, I could feel the vibration of the footsteps, and it was just like boom, boom, walking towards the front door. And back then, my dad just installed new deadbolts, and the deadbolt was locked, but the doorknob was unlocked. And sure enough, it walked up to the window, the door, and the doorknob started slowly turning, and it was really slowly turning, like it was trying to be sneaky, opening the door. And all I could do was just look at it. My heart was pounding, looking at the doorknob twisting like that, and I was freaking out. I was the only one awake, and I couldn't even move from where I was standing. I couldn't move at all, and because I knew it was by the door, and I heard it turn around. It was turning the doorknob for like what seemed like 30 seconds, and I heard it turn around, and it was walking back off the front porch in the same pace that it came up. It was really slow and really heavy. I could feel the vibration of the footprints from inside the house. And as soon as it left, that's when I could finally move. And I ran to the front and I grabbed the juice and I ran back into my room. I just went, I was trying not to freak out by myself. And ever since then, my dad got mad at me. You should have woke me up. Whenever you hear something, you should wake me up. And because he's not scared, he'll get his flashlight and he'll run outside and see what's going on. Yeah, that's what I seen.
Wow. And you could feel the footsteps from inside the
Yeah.
house.
hmm It was really heavy.
It had to have been a really big one.
hmm
Now, you had that dream about them coming out of a portal and they were doing like the samurai chatter. Do you feel like they really are using portals? What are your thoughts about the activity that you experienced around your property?
I believe they're using those portals. Yeah. Um, Sometimes people see it and then it would just disappear or turn invisible, what looked like it's cloaking. But I believe that they're using the portals to travel around the reservation, like a little shortcut.
Have you guys experienced anything else other than Sasquatch activity? Like, do you guys see UFOs out there? Other cryptids,
Yeah.
spiritual
Um,
beings?
my dad or my mom told me a story that her and her mom went to bingo. They went to bingo in the next few towns over, and it's about a 40-minute drive. And they were coming home, and um, there's this place called Round Mountain. It's just a round mountain, and there's a cross at the top. But just before that mountain, she said she was driving, and my grandma fell asleep, so it was just her awake. And just by that mountain, she's seen a huge UFO. She said she saw the detail of it. There was light all around it. It was bigger than um, bigger than a house, she said. And it was hovering over the ground. And she said she even saw windows at the top. There was lights all over it. There was windows that looked like a trapezoid, and there was windows all around it. And just as fast as she said, "Ma, look," just when she called her mom, that thing uh, stopped hovering and it shot straight up and it disappeared. So my grandma wasn't able to see it. That's what she was telling me. I was like, wow.
Do you guys theorize that maybe it's connected to the cryptid activity?
Yes.
Yeah.
We see strange lights in the sky all the time to this day.
Mm. Yeah, it's hard to say whether it is or it isn't, but it is happening in the same area, so that's something to keep note of.
Hmm. And there's stories of little people living in the mountains. There's some hikers that look for elk sheds, and sometimes they would see like little structures in the woods, like look like something built it. And they're really tiny little houses and a little campfire next to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's little people somewhere in the woods. My grandma used to say all the time, "Be careful when you're out at night. There's probably little people up in the wood or up in the trees watching you." You would freak out.
Yeah. I've heard that with other reservations, the people encounter these little humanoid creatures. And just like you mentioned with the juvenile Sasquatch, the little people, they're mischievous, they're
Mhm.
tricksters, and you don't want to make them angry.
Yeah. I also have one more dream that matched up with reality. Um, there was a time in 2000, I want to say six, we were taking out the carpet in the living room, and um, so all the furniture was in the back again and covered with sheets and everything. And I don't remember why my grandma didn't follow us to go eat out. I think she said she was tired, and so she stayed behind by herself. And by the time we came back, we found her laying on the dining room floor by the table. And all she told us was that she slipped. And she's the type that don't want to scare us. And years later in 2021, I ended up dreaming about that time. I was dreaming that she was going towards the dining room window. They're really huge windows. She was going to close the curtains, and there was a Sasquatch that appeared in front of her. And it was so big that it had to hunch over and look at her. And it had really big red eyes. And its shoulders were so wide, and it was hunched over at her. And she said, just from the size, or from my dream, just from the size, she fell backwards. She got scared. And she got even more scared because as she was laying there on the floor, it started talking Apache to her. I don't understand Apache as much as Inupiaq, but if I knew, then I would translate it. But I don't know what it was saying to her. But she was freaked out at the fact that it was talking Apache to her. Like mind speak, it wasn't actually moving its mouth. It was like kind of mind speaking to her in Apache. And that's when I woke up. I just saw that part of the dream and I woke up.
Oh,
I
wow.
was like, that's why she was laying on the dining room
Yeah.
floor.
I've heard of people that claim they've heard Sasquatch out in the woods and they were speaking like Cherokee, Apache, different Native American languages. One of my friends from Oklahoma, he actually has a recording of it, and he claims, I think it was a researcher in the area that recorded it, but he had it on his phone. But they claim there was like a gifting site where they were gifting the Sasquatch, and you can hear the creature walk up to the gifting site, and then it starts speaking in its language, and then also speaking, I think it was Cherokee. And I was thinking, oh, that's just a human. Like, there definitely sounds like two
Oh,
people talking. And then it got really low. Like, the voice got really, really low toned. And it was like, I don't know. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
no.
Like, that is definitely not human.
Well,
Then it's speaking like different languages. That's scary.
it's pretty scary.
Hmm. But yeah, it's definitely something they can do.
Mhm.
Makes you wonder what they truly are, and if our genetics was tampered with many years ago. And I don't know, like, where do they come from? That's my main question. Are they really interdimensional? Are they some sort of human that's been altered in some way, or all the above? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that too.
Hmm. But then the
And
natives
it
say that
probably
they were
stole.
the natives say they were here
Yeah,
before they ever even showed up.
yeah. I remember one time, my dad got some Alaskan food from my family up in Alaska, and he was really happy. There was leftover. We eat bowhead whale, and there was a bunch of the blubber left over, so he was gonna make some oil with it. And all he did was put it in a big glass pickle jar, and he was gonna just let it melt into oil. And he was really happy about it, really excited that he was gonna have some oil. And it was outside that time. He didn't put the fridge inside the shed. It was outside of the shed that time, and something stole the whole thing, the whole jar. And my dad got mad at first, but then he made a joke. He was like, "Well, Bigfoot's not going to be cold tonight because if you eat too much of that, you won't get cold. You won't get cold at all." But yeah, that's what it stole from us.
Wow.
And that's not all it stole. I remember my uncle next door. He had a gunny sack full of deer meat, and he was going to dry it. So he hung it up high up on a tree. He tied it up, and during the night, the whole bag got stolen. The whole thing was gone, and he don't know what happened to it. And he said he tied it up so dogs or anything won't get into it. But the whole thing was gone, even the bag. And I remember just the recent one, just last October, my niece's husband went elk hunting. He got picked to go elk hunting, and my he wanted my dad to fix the hide. And my dad spent the week of Halloween scraping the skin, like fixing the hide to dry. And just before Halloween, like the day before Halloween, he was finished, and he made like a frame for it out of boards, and he tied it. He tied the elk hide to the frame, and he placed it by the wood pile that's near the creek. And I remember seeing it on Halloween night. That's when I took the kids to get candy around the neighborhoods. And I remember seeing it that evening, that night, by the woodpile. And a couple days later, my mom texted me saying that elk hide's gone, the whole thing. And my dad said it was heavy and it was still stink. So the whole thing got taken. And my nephew tried to walk around the property to see where it got placed, to see if he could find the boards or anything. He said he couldn't find anything. The whole thing got taken. And we don't know what took it, but we have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, that's wild. Same thing happened to my dad when he got a 10-point buck. He kept the head and the hide, and he was going to get it mounted. He had it hung up in the garage, and the next morning it was gone. And we looked all over the place for it. We ended up finding it about a half mile away down at the creek bottom. But what I found strange about it was nothing chewed on it, like nothing chewed up the ears, the hide, everything was in perfect shape. It's like something just carried it off.
Wow,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
really freaky.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like they want it back or something, like they feel like it's theirs.
Hmm. I remember actually seeing it for myself. Um, the first time was around probably 2006, summertime. My younger sister and I were sitting on the back porch. Again, we usually sit on the back porch when it gets cool in the evening. And it didn't get dark yet. It was still daylight. And back then, the brush across the field, across our house, it was all cleared. The tribe cleared that whole area. So we could see the neighborhood, the house across the hill, across the road, and a trailer that's up on the hill. We could see that trailer really good. And at the end of the trailer, we noticed something standing there. It was really tall and black, and it was standing by that bedroom window. And their front door was open, but their screen door was closed. And from where we were standing, we could see the TV. And whatever that was, at the end of the trailer, it was peeking, like tree peeking. What it was doing, it was going back and forth, looking at the TV, what it looked like. And that's when me and my sister got scared. We ran inside, and that was the first time I seen it. The second time was in 2016, and that was the year that my parents went to Alaska. And that time, my mom ended up getting sick, so they had to extend their stay into September. So I was home alone, the only adult at home with the kids. And at the time, it was my daughters and my nieces and my nephew. And it was the first day of school in August. And that morning, there was no sunshine. It was just cloud cover. So it was gray outside. And I usually stand outside with them to wait for the bus. And it usually comes right at 7. And it was about 6:50 when I told one of my nieces to go stand outside. I was like, yeah, stand outside. I'll be right out there. And I was getting my older daughter ready. Not even 10 seconds later, I heard her running back inside. And she was like, I think I've seen Bigfoot. And I was like, what? And that's when I ran outside with her. And it. She said it was standing on our side of the creek by the dogs. Back then we had 2 dogs. And those 2 dogs, they didn't want to move. They had their noses tucked in. They were in a ball. It looked like they were scared, and they weren't moving. Even when they heard us run outside. And by the time I went outside, it jumped across the creek, and it was behind that one of those trees. And even though I had my phone in my hand, I couldn't even lift it up to take a picture or a video or anything because I was frozen in fear. It had its arm wrapped around the tree, and it had its other hand like on the stump, and it was tree peeking at us. It kept looking at us like that. And it was like that for like about 5 minutes. And my aunt next door, she was about to leave for work, and when it heard her uh, pulling up in her car, that's when it walked away into the thicket on the other side of the creek. and we're really trying to tell her what we've seen, and she's the same way. She don't like to make make us feel scared. So she was just saying, "Oh, it's an elk," but I know it wasn't an elk. It was really pitch black, hair all over. I couldn't see its face or anything. I could just see hair all over, and I can tell that it had really big muscles. And I remember that time, I was so scared. I didn't want to be home by myself with my two younger ones, my younger daughter and my nephew. They didn't start school yet. They were going to start Head Start the next week. So I didn't want to be home alone with them. So I went to go visit my late brother. And I was telling him about the experience. And he was like, "Yeah, you can stay. You're welcome to stay here at my house as long as you want. You can always go home later." So I spent the morning with my brother that day.
Wow. You've had a lot of experiences, so I can definitely understand why you're weary about these creatures and anticipating the next time that they'll show up around the property.
Hmm.
What was the last experience that you had to date? Like, was it the one that happened in January with the eye shine?
Mm. The most recent one was hearing about my dad
Mhm.
in the back porch where it moved the table. That happened on May 25. So that was the most recent one.
Okay. So not
What?
that
No,
long ago.
actually, a couple days after that, they went out into the woods to go for a ride, and there's a road called Skyline Road, and they were at the area where there was a bunch of pine trees. They were all close together, and they're driving through that area. And on my dad's side, the driver's side, he said there was a branch that got thrown at the truck,
Oh wow.
and he said, "Did you see that?" To my mom, and she didn't see it because it happened on the driver's side, but it just happened like a couple weeks ago. I thought that was freaky.
Yeah. So they have shown some aggressive behavior.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I remember getting rocks thrown at us. It was 2007. That's when some friends from Alaska was visiting, and uh, it was my younger sister, me, our cousin that came to us from Alaska, and one of my nieces from next door. She was sleeping over, and my cousin from Alaska, she was saying we should uh, go outside and shoot hoops, even though it was dark. And I told her my grandma don't like us being outside at night. He was like, "Let's just go for a little bit." And so we snuck out the back door. And back then we had the rim right across my bedroom window. And back then there was a street light on the corner of the house. So it was shining right on the rim. And it was already dark, and we were shooting hoops and laughing and everything. And just when it got quiet, there was a rock that got thrown, like from by the apple tree. Um, and it was a pretty good sized pebble. And we were like, "What the heck? What throw that rock?" And that's when we say we should try throw one back. And that's when I picked up a rock and I threw one back towards that area. And something threw another rock back. And that's when we freaked out and we ran inside. And I figured that um, it wanted to go by the creek, but it wanted to be unseen. That's what my theory was.
Yeah, very well could be. And they're obviously trying to get your attention.
Yeah, we didn't want to stick around to see what it was, so we just ran back inside.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Well, it sounds like an awesome place to do Bigfoot research, and it sounds like you got a really cool family and you guys stick together, which is really nice to hear. And hopefully, the next time they show up, things are peaceful and they're just trying to interact with you, not trying to come inside the house.
Hmm. There was one time that one of my nieces, slept outside on in between the houses, and she was on her laptop watching a movie on Netflix, and all of a sudden she felt the ground shake. She said something ran by her tent in between the houses, and she said it was so heavy that the ground shook and it shook her tent. And she texted me right away because I was just right inside. And that's when my younger sister and I went out in the back porch and was waiting for her to gather her stuff so she can come back inside. And she slept outside because it got overcrowded during the summertime. A lot of families visit. And while we were waiting, we started smelling it. It it smelled like a skunky, musky smell, but it was really strong. And we were like, hurry up, we can smell it. So she we went back inside and we were all freaking out what we were hearing, what she told us, and we thought it was really something to hear that actually ran right past her tent.
Yeah. Definitely could have been the Sasquatch.
Yeah. And she thought it was elk at first, but I don't know. I don't think elk can, like, only if there was a herd of them, maybe, could shake the ground like that in the tent. That's what she heard that night. And I remember one time that it actually hit the side of the house. It hit the house so hard that it shook the whole house. And we heard it hitting the shed next to the house. And then we heard it walking into the brush, and it was really whoosh, 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 walking through the brush like that. And it sounded mad for some reason that time. That was the only time that it hit the house.
Yeah. I wonder why they hit the side of the house. Do you think it was angry?
That's what my guess, because it was right by the front door. But
Hmm.
back then it was my grandma's room. Currently it's my daughter's room. But it sounded like it hit near the bedroom window, but on the wall. And it hit it so hard that we felt the house shake. And that was the only time we felt the house shake. It was pretty freaky.
Yeah. The fact that it shook the whole house, that's scary.
Hmm. I remember in 2017 when one of my oldest niece, she graduated high school, and we just had a brand new trampoline. And one morning we woke up, and it was about 7, 8 in the morning. Uh, the trampoline was near the driveway, and all the poles. It was one of those trampoline with poles and a net. All the poles were bent inwards. I have a picture of it. They were bent inwards, and I ran back inside and I got my younger sister, and we decided to go check it out. We were walking around the trampoline, and we ended up seeing really long, long hair stuck in the springs, and we were too scared to touch it. We thought it was like a horse hair, but we're like, what the heck? Horses won't do this. Like, what would they be doing this? I don't think it's possible. But we figured that it was Bigfoot that bent the poles. We had to take all those poles down. We had to take it apart.
Yeah, it could have been them. And I don't know. I feel like they're trying to interact with you guys and make contact, and that might have to happen in the future.
Hmm. I mean, I've already seen a couple of them before.
Hmm.
I don't know what's in the future.
Yeah. You might find yourself communicating face to face with a Sasquatch one day.
Ugh, I don't know what I would do. I know I
Yeah.
would freeze.
Mhm.
I'm scared.
Yeah. So is this house surrounded by forest?
Yeah, it's you just live on them. There's mountains everywhere.
Okay. And the surrounding mountains, are they able to look down on you guys from up there?
Mm. In some areas, there's watchtowers,
Hmm.
and my brother used to actually work at the forestry. And he, one early morning, he had to go check at one of the watchtowers, and he said he seen one of those things by the tree stump, and it was tree peeking at him. And so he had to check on his coworker at the watchtower, and all he warned him was like, "There's a bear in the area," and he didn't want to scare his coworker, but he seen Sasquatch tree peeking at him near one of the watchtowers.
Yeah. The place sounds like it's off the charts, and I definitely feel like you're going to continue to run into these things.
Hmm. I haven't heard it in years. Actually, I just seen it like a couple times and just seen the handprints, smelled it. You would smell it a lot. I've actually smelled it just a couple nights ago, uh, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything. Just smelled it. That's it. And I actually have an AC unit on my bigger window, and one of the flaps got looked like something was trying to open the flap, and so I had to. That was last year. This year I had to. I ended up like covering the flaps and everything with the board and trying to tape it up. I didn't want anything to do that again.
Yeah, I don't blame you because we don't know what they are and what their intentions are, and you
Mm,
just never know. That they seem to be pretty unpredictable.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you want to mention? Anything major that you forgot?
Mm, looking at my notes, and looks like I covered everything.
Okay. Well, Kat, you did an excellent job at describing these experiences and relaying the information that you've come across. And I really appreciate you for contacting the channel and openly sharing all this information with everybody.
Yeah, it's fun telling
Yeah.
all these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. You got through it, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like you'll be
Oh,
contacting me in the future again, though.
yeah, I don't know if you want to add this to the podcast, but I actually had a dream that you came to visit um, not too long ago, and I was dreaming that you stayed in the next town. It's called Ridoso, and they have rental cabins, and um, you were staying near a tree line. And you asked me to come over because we're going to do an investigation. And I got there early, and I didn't know that you left somewhere to the store or something. And I heard the TV inside. I thought you were inside, so I got off the vehicle and I was knocking on the front door, and As I was knocking, I looked towards the tree line, and there was a Sasquatch that popped out of the tree line and was looking at me. And I got nervous and I started knocking louder, and I'm like, Miguel, Miguel. And that's when you pulled up behind me, and I told you as you were pulling up, it disappeared into the tree line, and I told you, and that's when we went straight towards where it was, where I seen it, and then I woke up.
Wow. You never know. It might happen. Your dreams have been known to
Yeah,
come true. And yeah, that area of New Mexico just looks beautiful. I looked it up and the mountains there are truly spectacular.
yeah, it's really, really beautiful here.
Yeah, it is. If you had the choice
Oh,
to live in Alaska or New Mexico, which one would you choose?
oh, don't make me choose. Um, it's split, and I really love it up in Alaska just as much as I love it here.
Hmm.
Both places are home.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both equally beautiful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I forgot. We went camping just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, first week of May actually, and right at 4 a.m., just before 4 a.m., we heard. I heard an owl. There was an owl hooting like towards. It's called Silver Lake Campground, and we're not too far from the lake. And so I heard an owl hooting from a distance, and it was just whoo, 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 like that. It was constant, like for an hour straight, it was doing that. And right at 4 a.m., there was a second call, a weird sounding owl, but it was like really fast, and it sounded like it was right outside our tent. And I don't know how the other campers that we were with didn't hear it because it was pretty loud. Uh, it only did the two owl calls, and it was really fast. It was like hoo 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 like that, just like that. It did that twice, and after that, um, it started making like a weird duck sound mixed with like a crow cawing. I can't even imitate that sound. And it did that like 3 times. And during those calls, all the frogs, all the crickets stopped making noise. It was dead quiet. So I don't know what that was. And after that, it just uh, I waited until 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't hear anything else after those calls, and I waited until I started hearing birds to fall asleep. But I thought that was pretty weird to hear.
Yeah, that is strange. And I've experienced similar. And it makes me wonder if it is the Sasquatch or if it's simply just an owl. But sometimes it sounds too human like and the cadence is just off.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was pretty weird. But that was pretty much all my stories for now.
Yeah, for now. Hopefully. I mean,
Yeah,
if you do have more in the future, hopefully it's positive interactions with them. And yeah, like I said, you might make contact with them. And I would just try to be as respectful as possible. And I know you will be, but I don't know. I feel like they
mhm,
want something and it's possibly just food or they want to communicate with you. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, if it's a negative
yeah,
experience, you'll have to go get your dad.
yeah,
They'll chase him out.
yeah. I haven't tried the peanut butter yet or the tobacco.
Hmm.
I'll have to try those. Somehow attract it.
Yeah, it
Try to
might.
catch it on camera or something.
Yeah, it'd definitely attract them, and I know they like apples, peanut butter.
Hmm.
The tobacco, I don't know, but I've put it out a few times and have had um, interactions or experiences unfold. So I guess they do like it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I'll try some peanut butter at least.
Yeah. Are you going to go camping later on in the future?
I want to. It's a pretty good time to go camping at that campground. It's called Silver Lake.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the reservation. There's been multiple sightings over there too, near the lake, near the tree line. That's all I've heard whenever I camped there. Those weird calls.
Yeah. Looks like a good area and also a good area to find tracks around the lake.
Hmm. Yeah. My niece actually took a picture of some big tracks by one of the other lakes that's on the reservation. It's a deep, muddy track. I don't know when that was. She took a picture of it. It was all dried up already. So I'm pretty sure it goes to the creek or the water and just gets fish.
Yeah. I could see that. They
Eats a
come
lot of
down from the
fish.
mountain and go down to the lake and fish.
Yeah. There's plenty of deer, there's plenty of elk, plenty of fish, a lot of food for it to stay healthy.
Yeah. You got the food, water, and cover. The perfect recipe for Sasquatch activity.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna continue hearing it.
Yeah, I think so too. And if you experience anything else in the future, reach out to me. I'd like to hear about it. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message.
Okay. I'll send you all those pictures of the handprints and footprint that we found. The handprints are really something,
Yeah,
but I'll send them.
that sounds good to me, and I'd love to check it out, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Kat. And I'm so grateful that you shared your experiences on the channel. You're a really nice person. And yeah, I just really appreciate you so much. Okay.
Thank you for taking the time to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe you 110%. Be safe in the future and be mindful that these things are around. And I know you will be.
Okay. I'll continue to be gaming and listening to your channel. It's
That
my
sounds
favorite
good.
pastime.
Well, I appreciate it. And hopefully, more people from your area share their experiences. And I would like to hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay. Well, you have yourself an excellent day and you take care of yourself. Okay.
You have an excellent day as well.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Big shout out to our guest, Kathleen, for coming on and sharing her experiences that have stayed with her family for years. Whether you believe these events point toward Sasquatch, misidentified wildlife, something spiritual, or something we simply do not understand yet, the stories raise questions that continue to fascinate people across generations. If you've had unusual experiences in Alaska, New Mexico, or anywhere across the country and would like to share your story, send me an email and tell me what happened. If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss future interviews and field investigations. It could very well be possible that the Sasquatch are attracted to the females on the property, and the Native Americans often warned us that they are attracted to women and children. Also, women put off a different pheromone than men, and it could be possible that maybe a monthly cycle could be attracting these creatures. I ran that through Kat off air, and she said, wow, that really does make a lot of sense, and it puts things in perspective. So I'm not trying to be rude, but the Native Americans did say they had to isolate women on their monthly cycles away from the rest of the tribe in fear of attracting the Sasquatch creatures. And it is something to think about. I know it's a little sensitive of a topic to ask a female, but it is important if these creatures are coming up to the house, trying to open up the windows, and they've been known to make their way inside. If you enjoyed this episode, like the video, subscribe, and until the next one, you guys be safe out in the woods.